right, I've got some Fago and I've got my favorite band shirt on. Let's talk about Off Ramp, the new Juggalo-based coming-of-age thriller. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm here to talk to you about Off Ramp, which is coming to theaters on September 6th, 2024. It is a new Juggalo-based coming-of-age thriller that has two friends going to the gathering of Juggalos and the crazy things that happen to them on the way. Is this Juggalo experience worth your time? Well, my hot take is I think you should watch it later. It has some really beautiful cinematic moments and some interesting story elements, but for me, the story felt a little too random and the humor just didn't hit like I thought it would. I still enjoyed the movie. I am happy that it got made. I love that it is like telling a heartfelt, insane clown posse story. So I think you should eventually check it out. Just wait for it to come to streaming or on demand. So all that being said, I'm going to tell you a little about the film, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into the ending. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the ending section. If you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I would turn off when I get to the ending. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler-free. I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So in Off Ramp, you have Trey and Silas. Trey just got out of prison, and he meets up with his friend Silas to go to the Gathering of the Juggalos, the big Insane Clown Posse fan kind of extravaganza festival that happens every year. They are on their way to go. They're very excited, but along the way, they're running into some problems. Are they going to be able to make it to the Gathering of the Juggalos? And are they going to be able to like rely on the Insane Clown Posse family? Well, you have to watch the movie to find out. So, things I liked about this movie. The first, I love the music. It is really good music, and not just Insane Clown Posse music. It has some beautiful music during the emotional scene, some like really heartfelt moments that I was not expecting in this like horror thriller drama. The second thing I love the cinematography. It has some really beautiful scenes, some really well shot scenes. I was not expecting that when I put this movie on, but it has some really beautiful like Louisiana, Mississippi landscape. I think it was filmed in Louisiana. They say it's in Mississippi, but I think it was Louisiana. But some really beautiful, just like marshland landscape shots. There's some dogs that are involved in this that kind of are part of the story that are just absolutely gorgeous. And the last thing I love the characters. I loved Trey and Silas and their interactions. They really are like interesting, fun friends. They do feel like they are like really, really close friends, and also like part of the Insane Clown Posse, like part of the Juggalo family. They have Juggalo phrases interwoven in there. They talk about, you know, the Dark Carnival and things about like the Insane Clown Posse family that feel authentic. And I guess, you know, the real last thing I love just like the heart in this movie. Like, you know, I am not a Juggalo. I will be clear, I'm not a Juggalo, although I do listen to a lot of, you know, harder music and things like that. So I understand kind of the feeling of love that you get if you are all involved in like one band. But from everything I understand, the Juggalo family is wonderful. It is very beautiful. It's very welcoming. It's very kind of like understanding. They are, you know, they don't really care where you come from. They don't really care what you're doing. Like you're just part of the family, and they are very, there is a very like lovely community. So I do like that this film highlighted that and showcased that as well. It's not the only film that's done that. There have been some documentaries. There was a 2018 film called Family that did a similar thing, but I love that this continued that tradition of showing just like how welcoming this group of outcasts is. So all that being said, things I didn't love as much. The first, it's not as funny as I expected it to be. I thought it'd be like really, really funny. It has funny moments, but for me, it wasn't, the humor just didn't hit as hard as I was expecting it to. I thought this would have just like insane moments where I'd be laughing the entire time. It had some of those, but for the most part, the jokes didn't hit for me like I expected them to. And the second thing I didn't love as much, I'll just call it like random story elements. There was just a lot of like random story aspects that come up that seem like they come out of nowhere. I'm not going to go into them here. I'll go into them in like the ending discussion, but it felt almost like they were just thrown in there to like throw you off or like make the story be even crazier and crazier. And it felt like they were not previewing, just kind of like blindsided you. So Off Ramp comes to theaters on September 6th, 2024. Like I said, I think you should watch it later, wait for it to come to streaming or on demand. But if you do check it out, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I would love to hear it. And I'm going to really quickly go into an ending discussion right now. So if you don't know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So the film starts with Trey getting out of prison. And I love this because, like, as Trey's leaving, he, you know, says bye to people, and he says bye to one of the guards. And when that guard, like, gives him a high five, you see her on her, like, wrist is an Insane Clown Posse tattoo. So it shows just, like, how the fans can be, you know, like, different in normal life versus their, like, Juggalo persona, which I liked. And also, it showed that there was someone watching out for him in prison. Now, Trey gets picked up by Silas, who is, like, his best friend, someone that, he has known for a long time. Trey was really close to Silas's older brother, and then when his older brother died, Trey and Silas became very close. And so Silas picks him up. They get in a van and start heading towards the gathering of the Juggalos, which I think happens in Ohio. And so they are driving to Ohio to get to this gathering. And unfortunately for them, rather than just stay on the freeway, they decide to take an off ramp, and that off ramp leads to some misadventures. They take the off ramp because they want to get some food and fill up on gas, and so they stop at a cafe. And when they're leaving, Trey literally runs into a sheriff. He's like, he's holding a drink or something like that, and he runs into the sheriff, spills his Fago, I think, on, well, it's not Fago in the movie, it's like some sort of like generic clown drink, probably because they couldn't license Fago, but he spills his drink on the sheriff. And this, then Trey like tries to step up to the sheriff, but Silas recognizes who he is, makes him back down. But that puts this van on the sheriff's radar. So eventually they drive away, and later they get pulled over by a cop. And that cop is Miles Doleac, who I love. He's a fun actor. He's in a lot of stuff. I interviewed him a while ago for his movie Demigod, the movie that he directed. But you'll see, if you recognize him, you'll see him in a lot of different movies. He kind of shows up in a lot of different movies. So Miles Doleac is this cop. He pulls them over and starts searching the van. And when he's searching the van, he finds Silas's bag of drugs. Now, what we find out later is that Trey went to prison to cover for Silas. He told his older brother who would take care of him. And so Trey took the blame for something I think that Silas did, or maybe they both did, but he took the blame. And so he went to prison for a year for that. And so now he kind of does that again. They find the bag of drugs. He doesn't rat out his friend Silas. He, says that they're his for medicinal purposes or something along those lines. Tries to like take the blame. It really wouldn't matter if he ratted on his friend because they were still in his car, so that would still be transporting. But in any event, while this is happening, Silas takes action. He lights a firecracker, throws it over to the side, which distracts the cop, and then he chokes the cop into unconsciousness. And then when he choked the cop, he pulled out what looked like a gun and like shot the cop, but it was actually a water pistol filled with LSD. So he shot the cop with some LSD, hoping that maybe he wouldn't remember, and they book it. Now, I assume that the cop has some sort of body cam footage. I assume the cop has some sort of camera in his car. So this all seems for naught. It seems like they'll be caught eventually. But they hightail it out and try to find somewhere to stay. And what they do is they end up going to this person named Scarecrow, who they have some beef with from a gathering of the Juggalo years ago. But they're in trouble, so they go try to see if Scarecrow can help them. So when they go to find Scarecrow, Scarecrow is not happy to see them, and we find out why. Trey got Scarecrow kicked out of the gathering of the Juggalos, and he got his entire crew banned for life. So Scarecrow was a Juggalo. I guess he still kind of is a Juggalo, but he is upset with Trey for that. But I guess they end up doing it. They end up making a deal. Scarecrow agrees to lend him a car until after the gathering in exchange for Trey's car and then also the stash of drugs that they had. And also they have to come to a ceremony that they're having later. Now we also meet Eden, who is Scarecrow's younger sister. She seems to be kind of like trapped here. She seems like Scarecrow is milking her for her breast milk. Which again was like one of these like random elements. It seems like Scarecrow for some reason like can't walk. It seems like he's like partially paralyzed or at least has like some sort of nerve damage. And so he is milking Eden for both because he thinks the breast milk will help rejuvenate his body, and also he sells the breast milk for like bodybuilders and other freaks as a like source of income. Again, it was a very random thing. That was one of like the random story elements. It was like, all right, that's weird. Like Scarecrow has mobility issues and he's like milking his sister for sustenance, I guess. But it is what it is. Now, here we do find out why Trey went to jail. Trey went to jail because he beat up some frat boy who came after Silas because he was trans. And this was another like random fact that just kind of like popped up. It was just like Silas explains like, oh yeah, because I'm trans. And like, that was the first time we've heard of this. I mean, I guess it's good, right? Like if Silas is trans, then that is his persona. And so like there doesn't really need to be much explanation, but it did kind of come out of random. Now, Trey promised Silas's big brother they'd look after him, and so he did. Now, during these interactions, Trey and Silas are hanging out with Eden. That's where we find out this information. And also, Eden and Silas seem to like each other. They eventually hook up, and Trey's going to leave, but they want Trey to film them. Sure, why not? Now we get to the ceremony. Everyone's faces are painted. And so I think this is the first time we see Trey and Silas in their like insane clown posse Juggalo paint. and it is apparently like a necromancy ceremony. They're trying to contact the spirit of Lotus, who is Eden's dead baby. She died, I think, when she was really, really young. And Scarecrow does an incantation, drinks a shot of Eden's blood, but then he says that they need something more potent. And so Eden offers a finger, and you're like, what is going on? Like, this is really, really random. I don't know if this is based on like ICP lore or if this is based on like stories, but it feels really random. So Eden offers a finger to contact the spirit of her dead baby, and Scarecrow chops off Eden's finger, and then they cauterize the wound because she's bleeding a lot. So they cauterize the wound with that hatchet. And while this is happening, Scarecrow is like suckling on the finger, trying to make the spirit of the dead baby Lotus come here. Come here. So while this is happening, that cop that pulled them over, Randy, jumps in, and it turns out that Scarecrow sold them out. So Randy comes and arrests the Trey and Silas, but also Randy is still high from the LSD. I don't know how long that lasts, but it seems like this trip has been lasting for a very long time. But Randy eventually gets Trey and Silas, gets them in the car, and drives them off into the like Louisiana forest. When he gets there, the sheriff comes there, and the sheriff is there with his daughter named Ariel. And Ariel seems to be pregnant. We don't know how she got pregnant. We don't know who the parent is. It's all, again, very random. But what we find out is that this whole plot is put together so that the Juggalos will take the blame for killing Ariel's baby. And so that way that she'll, I guess, have an abortion. And so they'll take the blame for it. And then this whole like black mark on the sheriff's family can be undone, I guess. And so while this is happening, Ariel starts having the baby, and the sheriff is yelling at Ariel to just kill the baby and everything will go back to normal. And while this is happening, Silas is talking to Randy, the cop, who is tripping on LSD, and Silas tells him that the carnival is always watching and like telling Randy to do the right thing. So Randy eventually pulls a gun on the sheriff, telling him to like stop, this is not right, all that stuff. For some reason, Randy decides to get a conscience at this exact moment. Maybe it was the LSD. I don't know. But the sheriff pulls a gun on Randy and kills him. And then the sheriff approaches the Juggalos, getting ready to execute them execution style, which I don't know how they would take the blame if they're going to get killed execution style, but it is what it is. And the sheriff gets up there, and that is when, boom, he gets shot. Ariel, the pregnant lady, shoots him, and the sheriff instinctively, I guess, or maybe out of spite, turns and shoots Ariel. So now everyone is dead except for Trey and Silas. And they also realize that maybe the baby is there. So they cut the baby out of the dead Ariel. Again, very random. Very, very random. They sterilize a blade and like cut the baby out. And I'm like, this is not good. This is gonna look real bad. The Juggalos are in town. They already think that they're like bad influences. Now there's like what looks probably to someone who's not here, like some sort of satanic ritual where they cut a baby out of a pregnant lady and killed her. This is not going to be good for them. They're going to leave DNA all over. Not good for anyone involved. But they do this. They do this anyways. They cut the baby out, and then the baby's not breathing, so they start massaging the baby and giving it CPR, and it eventually starts crying. So now I guess they have a baby. They take the cop car. They go back to Eden, and then they have a raid. And this is a funny scene where like Silas is all decked out in sheriff gear, like SWAT gear essentially, with a non-lethal shotgun. They jump in there. Silas takes out some of the other people, some of Scarecrow's henchmen. And eventually he gets to Scarecrow, and Scarecrow has a shotgun, I think. Although it didn't look like a shotgun, but it fires like a shotgun. He fires, a big hole appears in the door right where Silas was going to be, but he turned away. Silas looks in and says, I'm gonna save her, or something like that. And eventually Silas decides to like raid the room, which doesn't seem good. It seems like he probably should have shot Scarecrow with his non-lethal shotgun, but he steps through the door, gets messed up. The door falls over. He is like tangled the door, and it seems like our hero is going to be shot. But that is when Eden pushes Scarecrow over. Scarecrow has mobility issues. He's in a wheelchair. Eden just pushes him over, grabs the gun, and then before she leaves, she pours a sack of breast milk on Scarecrow, and then they all leave. So they all leave. Eden sees the baby and instantly is like drawn to it because she misses her first baby Lotus. So this might be her second chance. I wonder if she thinks that this is like the spirit reincarnated of Lotus. I'm not sure, but They are all now one big happy family. They drive to CVS to pick up some stuff for the baby, and then they keep driving. And as they're driving away, we get a quote that says, "Blood may be thicker than water, but it ain't shit compared to the bond of a Juggalo family." So it seems like they are a new Juggalo family. It seems like everything is going well. It seems like they're on their way to the gathering. Now we also see Scarecrow's place. Seems like the door was left open. Now, one of the things that happened here is that I think Scarecrow's mom, one of the parents, was killed by like wild dogs that were like introduced to this area years ago and they went feral. And so there's like a wild dog motif throughout the film. That's weird until you hear that story. Before you just see these like scenes of dogs in the wilderness. They are beautiful. It is beautifully shot. It is a very, very lovely scene or series of scenes, but you don't understand what it is until you hear that story. Now we see Scarecrow's place and the door was left open and these dogs pour in. Seems like they are wild, they are feral, and they find Scarecrow on the ground and they attack Scarecrow. So it seems like Scarecrow got what's coming to him, and now Eden is free. Now we finally get to the gathering. I was waiting for this moment. We finally get to the gathering. You don't get enough time in the gathering. We see our friends and some of their Juggalo friends there. They're all talking. Trey and Silas are about to go on stage. They got asked to perform at the gathering of the Juggalos. So they're about to go on stage and they say, you know what? They need their family up there. And so they convince everyone to go. Everyone goes up on stage and that's it. We don't even get to see them on stage. I wanted to see them on stage performing. I thought that would be a really cool scene. I understand it was probably very difficult to film that, but I thought that would be cool if they like went on stage, performed a little bit. You got to see like the crowd or something. But you don't get that. You see them heading to the stage, and that's the movie. Now, during the credits, we also see some scenes from the gathering. We see some scenes from like the gathering of the Juggalos, some people smiling and dancing and whatnot. And also during the credits, there is a beautiful like soft acoustic ukulele version of Insane Clown Posse Miracles, which is perfect. I really, really love that rendition. So I thought that was a perfect way to end this film. But I just wish that there was more of the gathering. I wanted to have more experiences at the gathering. This is really a road trip film where you finally get to the gathering and then the film is basically over. I wanted to have 10 minutes at the gathering, see friends, see the interaction, see them talk to people, see them on stage, get that big payoff we've all been waiting for the film. You just didn't get that. So that is Off Ramp. Like I said, I liked a lot about it. I thought it was clever. I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining. It wasn't as funny as I expected it to be, but I thought it had a ton of heart, and I really loved the characters. So it's coming to theaters on September 6th, 2024. I think you should wait for it to come to streaming or on demand, but if you do watch it, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I would love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Whoop, whoop.